And good morning, world, and welcome to the Patriot Party show, where truth meets every corner of the news. I'm Matt, your host, and I'm so glad to be here kicking off the weekend with all you guys and gals. Every Saturday, we bring you the biggest stories, politics, world affairs, finance, tech, sports, celebrity buzz, and entertainment. If you're tired of the mainstream spin, hit that subscribe button, join the movement, and be part of the conversation shaping America's future. Let's jump right in. So, on some national news, Trump reclaims Columbus Day. President Trump has issued a Columbus Day proclamation aimed at reclaiming the explorer's legacy. He said, left wing radicals, and that's a quote, have tried to tarnish Columbus's image, and that this proclamation is about preserving history. Now, critics, including Native American advocates, say the move erases the painful legacy of colonization. Carrie Malloy, a professor of Native American and Indigenous Studies, said Columbus's arrival triggered genocide across the Americas through disease, slavery, and forced conversion. Look, what happened to Native Americans was tragic. I mean, absolutely tragic. But erasing history because we don't like it isn't the answer. That same mindset led to people tearing down statues, rewriting the story of America. We have to recognize the bad and the good. Because if we only keep what's comfortable, we lose truth itself. I mean, I know there's a movement against truth, against facts. Let's replace facts with fiction. Let's replace science with what you believe. We have to stop that. Let's live in reality, not fantasy. Own the past, learn from it, and move forward together. That is the true American way. A lot of us out there have questions, and maybe this next story will answer them. Kurt Olson, a former Trump campaign lawyer who worked on the effort to overturn the 2020 election results, has joined the administration to investigate that year's election and voting related issues, according to people familiar with this matter. Hopefully, one way or another, this will finally put the issue to rest, but only time will tell. So let's get into some Middle East peace talks. Jared Kushner is back in the spotlight, serving as Trump's top envoy in renewed peace efforts across the Middle East. After sitting out much of the second administration, Kushner is now leading talks aimed at stabilizing the region. Trump said, and I quote, I put Jared there because he's smart, knows the region, and knows the players. We agree. Use every tool at your disposal to save lives, stop wars, and bring peace. That is what leadership looks like, y'all. Let's talk about the China tariffs and the economy. So, President Trump announced a 100% tariff on Chinese goods starting November 1st or sooner, after Beijing tightened control over rare earth exports. So there was a cause and there's an effect. Now, China currently dominates nearly 70% of the world's rare metals. Now, we're part into blame for this. If y'all look back, how many countries, including Afghanistan, which was awful after the withdrawal, does China go in and say, hey, y'all have rare earth minerals. We want rights. We'll bring you, give you a seat at the table or whatever. But we were there for 20 years. Why didn't we get the rare earth minerals? The same thing has happened over in Africa and other places where we just stood on the sidelines and let China take those rare earth minerals. And now it's coming home to roost. But here's the thing. I think that might be another knee-jerk reaction. Now, I'm talking about the 100% tariff. We don't even know how hard it's going to be to get an export license, which is what they're requiring. If you're going to do rare minerals, you have to have an export license. Well, we don't even know how hard it is. Is it just some paperwork? Is it a fee? I mean, could it be about money? Let's be real. The U.S. would probably do the same to raise revenue. So time will tell if this move protects us or hurts our wallets. Speaking of wallets, let's talk about grocery prices and tariff impact. Grocery prices keep climbing: beef, coffee, I mean, you name it. New tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada are raising costs on everyday goods. A Yale study found tariffs could add nearly $5,000 a year to the average family's grocery bill, which, if you're looking at the average family, that way surpasses the cut that the Big Beautiful Bill gave to people. Which, remember, when we were reporting it, anything other than the wealthy, the Big Beautiful Bill is only good for, like, I think 4 years. Now, this was several months ago that we reported this, but I'm pretty sure when we reported it that the problem we had with it was the no tax on tips and all these things to entice the middle class, the working class of America. All these things were temporary. We didn't like that. And now, one of the arguments was, well, he's saving money there so he can generate money here. Well, if you're making us spend more money than you're saving us, then you're costing us money and, in essence, inflating prices. We've said it from the start. Tariffs are just another tax on American citizens. Remember, the soup we make today, we have to eat tomorrow. And right now, that soup's tasting pretty sour to people at the grocery store. Pentagon press access crisis. Yes, we have a little bit of a crisis. Starting Wednesday, nearly all media outlets will lose access to the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is requiring reporters to sign a pledge agreeing not to use any unauthorized material, even if it's not classified, or lose their press badge. So basically, thus far, what it seems like is you want to manipulate, you want to control the narrative coming out of the Pentagon. You don't want to give us a free press. That's the way it's seeming. You want to spin the narratives or have the ability to spin them. Every major network from Fox to CNN has refused. Even Fox has refused. Let's call this what it is: unconstitutional. The First Amendment guarantees a free press. The government can restrict access to secure areas, sure, but it can't make journalists surrender their constitutional rights. At the Patriot Party, we say this violates the three P's: people, principle, and the Constitution. And you can read more about that and the three P's at thepatriotparty.us. Let's get into some government and justice. A federal judge has temporarily blocked Trump's plan to fire federal employees during the shutdown. This highlights exactly what we talked about: ambiguous laws and bureaucratic overreach. When courts and agencies stretch their authority, we drift away from the Constitution. We have to drift towards the Constitution, y'all. Towards the Constitution, not away. We've been drifting away for far too long. Far too long. Centuries. We've been drifting away. We got to start drifting back, or we will lose ourselves and our country. A group of bipartisan senators will force a vote on a war powers resolution to block the use of force by American troops within or against Venezuela after President Trump raised the possibility of attacks against Nicolas Maduro's regime. The measure is being led by Senator Tim Kaine, a Democrat out of Virginia, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Rand Paul, a Republican out of Kentucky, and I do like Rand Paul, but we are going to talk about these, especially Tim Kaine, in just a second, a member of, now this is Rand Paul, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and Senator Adam Schiff, what a joke, a Democrat from California, they are co-sponsors. Trump said Wednesday he had authorized the CIA to carry out covert operations inside Venezuela, saying he was focused on land operations and raising the specter. The president is looking to remove Maduro from power. Now, this is quotations, and this is what Rand Paul said, and we're going to break this down. The American people do not want to be dragged into endless war with Venezuela without public debate or a vote. We ought to defend what the Constitution demands: deliberation before war, Paul said in a statement. You know, now I like Paul. I like what he does on the most part, for the most part. But you got Tim Kaine and Adam Schiff, especially Tim Kaine. I have a problem because they want to use the Constitution as a tool of convenience. It is not. It should always be used. This guy, Tim Kaine, is the same guy who came out and said rights are granted by the government. Do you realize that is completely in reverse of what, I mean, the founding fathers worked so hard because that is the same mentality. That is the same mind frame that the monarch had before the American Revolution. They literally said rights are granted by the monarch or the parliament. But now this guy, oh, you got to save the Constitution. Yeah, we do need to save the Constitution, but you need to do it 100% of the time. Stop being a hypocrite. But let's get into what does the Constitution say? So, Article 1, Section 8 grants Congress the power to declare war, raise and support armies, and make rules for the government and regulation of the armed forces. Article 2, Section 2 names the president as commander-in-chief of the military, giving him authority to direct military operations. Now, this sounds a little confusing. Presidential power, Trump's authorization of covert CIA operations, falls under his Article 2 powers. Presidents have historically used this authority to conduct limited military actions without formal war declarations. But then you got congressional oversight. Senators like Tim Kaine, Rand Paul, and Adam Schiff are invoking Article 1 powers, arguing that any military action, especially one that could escalate, requires public debate and a vote. So let's talk about covert operations and constitutional gray areas. Covert CIA missions are often classified and not subject to the same public scrutiny as military deployments. However, if these operations lead to armed conflict or regime change, they may cross into territory that constitutionally requires congressional authorization. I think just on its face, now this story just hit the press, so it got added last minute to our feed for this morning. But just on its face, Trump, and I'm saying the administration, seems justified or okay to send in the CIA, but it seems like he's wading out into murky waters, constitutionally murky waters. So we'll just have to play it by ear. I'm thinking that he's okay, but we'll have to see what happens. I'm not gonna call something I don't have enough dots to connect. Let's get into John Bolton being indicted. So the former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, has been indicted for allegedly sharing sensitive government info with relatives for use in a book. It's the third indictment in recent weeks against a Trump critic. So, are these the first dominoes to fall, or just smoke and mirrors for the base? Time and truth will tell. we got a little bit of unrest going on with the World Cup. So Trump threatened to pull World Cup games from Boston over safety concerns. Excuse me. And we looked into it, and he couldn't do it without FIFA. But believe it or not, FIFA confirmed the U.S. government does have final say over the host city security. So, our research said he couldn't do it unilaterally, but they're pretty much saying, yeah, he's got the power. That's cool. I mean, as long as it's by the book. World News Roundup. A fragile truce between Israel and Hamas continues as leaders prepare for a peace summit in Egypt. Hamas releases 20 Israeli hostages, and 28 remains in exchange for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, part of a U.S.-backed plan. And then in Venezuela, Maduro is mobilizing troops and militias, claiming readiness for war against the U.S. So frankly, his military is no match for America's. I mean, they had pictures of these old people, women, people that weren't in shape, crawling under wire. This is just, might as well pee in the wind because you're going to get hit with it. I mean, that's ridiculous. But, they might not have to worry about it because, it just came off that these senators are challenging the whole move. Before we get into financial news, there's something I want to talk to y'all about. At the Patriot Party, we're very selective about what we endorse. We won't put our name behind any product unless someone within our own organization has personally tested it. Every feature, every promise to make sure it's real, not hype. So when someone says something's Patriot Party approved, you can trust it's tried, tested, and true. That's why we're proud to announce our first ever product endorsement, a true America First innovation called Openvest. Openvest levels the playing field. It gives everyday Americans access to the same kind of investments and profits that used to be reserved for the top 1%. The hedge funds and private portfolios that require millions just to get in the door. Who can afford that? Really, who can afford that out there? Not many of us. Not me. With Openvest, you can start investing with as little as $300 and make smaller contributions over time, all into funds that mirror the same strategies used by high net worth investors. The only cost is just $3 a month for individuals. And if you own a business, they offer affordable 401ks and IRAs too. We've personally tested Openvest, set up accounts, invested, tracked the returns, even cashed out and redeposited funds, and it all worked exactly as promised. Smooth, transparent, real. So join us in supporting not just an America First company, but one that's preparing to offer the same opportunity worldwide. That's right, world. All y'all out there are getting ready to get the same opportunity in the years ahead. You'll find a special link and exclusive promo code in the podcast description, giving Patriot Party listeners bonus cash and early access to Openvest today. Take your financial freedom into your own hands. Openvest, invest like the 1%, starting with what you have. Now let's get to some financial news. It kind of was financial news, but let's get into some financial news. 5 expert investment picks right now: bonds, CD ladders, real estate, gold, international equities, and high quality credit. That is what the experts are saying right now. Silver hit a 40-year high, topping $51 an ounce before settling at 49. And remember from last week, and I'm going to hit this again because this speaks directly to what we're talking about. Costco still has the best deals on precious metals, especially with that executive membership and 2% cash back. It literally more than pays for itself after your first ounce of gold. So silver, gold, if you want to invest, I think that's the way to invest. If you can find, more less expensive prices than the Costco with the membership, please message me, let me know, because I haven't been able to find any cheaper, but and less expensive. But if you can find reputable prices that are lower than that, let me know for myself, and so I can announce it here. Markets rebounded this week. NASDAQ up 2.2%, S&P 1.6%, and Dow 1.3%. Rare earth stocks like MP Materials are up over 75% year to date. We were just talking about China and the new stipulations and the 100% tariff and all that stuff just a few minutes ago. Did y'all know? You always hear the top 1%, right? You always hear, top 1%, top 1%, top 1%. Did y'all realize to make the top 1% in 2025, you need an average annual income of $731,000. That's America's new economic reality. I mean, I thought it was going to be higher personally. When I saw that, I was like, wow, that's not as high as what I thought it was going to be. Now, that's the average. Some states were over 1 million. Some states were, less than 500,000. But when you average them all together, that was the average. Tech news. OpenAI versus Elon Musk. OpenAI wants Musk's lawsuit dismissed over alleged trade secret theft. I think they filed for it to be dismissed. Microsoft launches Bing Places for Business. Big win for local search engine optimization. YouTube introduces activation partners, linking advertisers with vetted media experts. Let's talk about some celebrity news, y'all. This week, though, this week brought a wave of losses. Actress Diane Keaton has died at 79. Ace Frehley, y'all know how I name it. Ace Frehley, legendary Kiss guitarist, gone at 74. D'Angelo, Grammy-winning R&B singer, passed away at 51 after a long fight with cancer. And tragedy in Mexico. Argentine performer Fade Dorcas, just 29 years old, was killed in an attempted robbery. Yeah, I hear that stuff, and death is never easy, and it's always tragic. But especially when it takes someone so young who barely had a chance to live life. Meanwhile, Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau, yeah, you heard that right, were spotted getting cozy on her yacht, sparks flying on the high seas. Wow, oh Justin Trudeau, no wonder he stepped down. Kate and William were all smiles in Northern Ireland. Kristen Cavallari landed a massive 8-figure deal for her podcast, Let's Be Honest. Cool. Go podcaster. 8 figures. Ain't bad. Sports. Let's get some sports. It's been a week in sports. Penn State quarterback Drew Allar is out for the season after the crushing 22-21 loss to Northwestern. In the NFL, the Tennessee Titans fired head coach Brian Callahan after a brutal 4-19 record. Here's a couple of names I'm gonna have a hard time with. Hopefully, you baseball fans will forgive me and know exactly who I mean, and I won't butcher them too bad. Yoshinobu Yamamoto delivered an absolute masterpiece in the NLCS, leading the Dodgers to a 5-1 win. Dodgers NLCS sweep of Brewers. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to try to get this right. Shohei Ohtani pitched 6 scoreless innings, struck out 10 batters, and clobbered 3 home runs in a performance many of his Dodger teammates described as the greatest in baseball history. Wow, those are some big shoes to fill. Wow. And around the league, Falcons upset the Bills 24-14. Bears edge out the Commanders with a walk-off field goal. And CM Punk, Jay Uso, and LA Knight clash on WWE Raw. It's funny that that we're considering that sport now, but I guess it is. It's very athletic. So let's get into some entertainment and streaming picks for this week. New movies. The Black Phone 2. Ethan Hawke returns in this chilling sequel. I went for The Black Phone 1. I didn't think it was worth going to the theater for. I can't imagine 2 will be better than 1 because, very rarely are they even as good. So, I can't imagine that. Good Fortune. Aziz Ansari directs Keanu Reeves and Seth Rogen in a cosmic comedy. That might be funny with Seth Rogen and Keanu Reeves. New TV. Watson Season 2 is on CBS. Morris Chestnut back as Dr. Watson in a medical mystery drama. Boston Blue, CBS. Donnie Wahlberg stars in a Blue Blood spinoff. Streaming picks. Netflix. Everybody Loves Me When I'm Dead, a dark emotional drama. Apple TV Plus. The Mannequin, a psychological thriller. And Disney Plus, Halloween classics like Hocus Pocus and The Nightmare Before Elm Street. Now let's get to the pick of the week. Pick of the week, y'all, which is a movie called Whiteout. It's not the 2009 Whiteout. It is the 2024 Whiteout. And it is crazy. I just watched it. I'm almost 100% sure I watched it on Prime. And it's a brutal Siberian survival thriller about escape, starvation, and the darkest sides. And when I say darkest sides of human nature, I mean it. It's a freaking crazy movie. Y'all should definitely check it out. Remember, it's not the Whiteout 2009, it's the Whiteout 2024, the Siberian survival thriller. Oh my goodness. So that's a wrap for this week's Patriot Party show. I want y'all to remember, truth isn't partisan, it's patriotic. Stay safe, stay informed, and check out thepatriotparty.us. Again, that's thepatriotparty.us for updates, interviews, and more. I'm Matt, signing off. See you next Saturday, right here, where truth meets every corner of the news.